Good evening. My name is John Presco. Today is January 1st, 2014, and I'm going to read a few pages from my science fiction novel, The Gideon Computer. And this book was began in 1986, and it's about the last bohemian or beatnik or hippie in the future. My friend Nancy Hamrun, when I visited her in Springfield at the creamery where she works, her grandmother's recipe for yogurt made the Kesey family very wealthy. And we used to live in a famous commune in San Francisco back in the 60s, 1966, called the Idle Hands. And so we were talking about the good old bohemian beatnik hippie days, and she suggested I write the history of the hippies because I could recall so much. And I mulled that over for 6 months or more, and I decided that I'm going to write about the future. I'm going to write about the last hippie and what that would be like and what that world would be like. And when this novel began to come true a year later, it led me into sobriety, and I got 27 years today. And so I think I pretty much caught up. I think I am actually Berkeley Bill Beauregard as I saw him 28 years ago. Chapter 1, The Great American Despair Tax. Bill couldn't afford many things this world purported to offer, or what he came to call the despair tax, seemingly attached to anything worthwhile by a milky white piece of plastic hooked into the very fiber of life. Any value that would have been passed on to you, bleached out by a bevy of handlers, till you have painstakingly figured out more than their maximum cut before they let you handle it, the fine material, then tag you're it, the designated sucker. And try as you may, you can never remove this label under penalty of law, and like a ball and chain it follows after you all your weary days. You're no longer curious exactly when you were elected to pick up the tab. But it's your duty now, your job to invent the most preposterous reasoning as to why you are unhappy, and thus life sucks. But you're never quite sure this is true. And a lot of people are counting on that, all the way to the bank. However, curiosity was not on the list of things Bill could ill afford. For long ago he made a promise to himself that if he ever came to be that poor, he would tag himself to an overhanging branch of a tree with this note pinned to his lapel, like an unsellable item in a garage sale. Free for the taking, one used human being in a three-piece suit. Alas, Bill did own a three-piece suit, but he had grave doubts it truly belonged to him. He had found it in the attic of a Victorian slated for demolition to make way for a freeway. And the no trespassing sign posted on its ornate door advertised to Bill that there was a room available to the likes and privileges of being Mr. Berkeley Bill Beauregard, man about town, but with no place to hang his hat. But nevertheless Bill entered and was greeted by a host of ghosts, whose fleshy tabs had been snipped, but not their curiosity as to who the shabby but handsome stranger might be, what he wanted from them, and with a tinge of caution, after all, he's a human being, what did he have to offer? Bill had only wanted to lay him down, and upstairs he found a walk-in closet with a tiny window. Here he put down his quilt and got comfy, and just before he blew his candle out, looking up, he noticed a trap door to the attic, and not able to shoo away his curiosity, He was soon employing his primate ingenuity by stacking objects he found about the house, and Bill, a self-professed archaeologist and caretaker of a fast disappearing and valuable past, whistling to himself, pushed the trapdoor aside and hoisted his middle-aged weight through the small aperture. Bill was in ecstasy. His sixth sense for getting himself in trouble drew him to things that were not screwed down as yet. He had a brilliant mechanical mind. Bill could take one look at a bolt and tell what torque had been put on it and if it needed another half twist. But he had come to hate this talent now wedged in him, as he couldn't help but see the world's history this way, of a humanity shoulder to shoulder with too many mechanics, technocrats and bureaucrats, going about tightening up a modern world that won't stay put, that had all but been bolted down and was groaning, whimpering, that it was way too tight. But who heard? Who cared? There was a job to be done over and over again. So there. Macht das frei, Bill groaned as he borne himself into the attic. But Bill meant he was now dedicated to unloosening what he had helped rout, and sensed the space held a treasure that escaped discovery and was hiding like an old Jew, holding his breath when he heard Bill's footsteps enter below. The mechanic cometh, Bill whispered, as he raised his candle high. And if Bill understood one thing, it was that life is about the search for an honest mechanic, and need be nothing more than that. Humpty Dumpty, what is this? Bill exclaimed in a false sense of surprise, for Bill had a bad fall long ago when he discovered that he was truly always right, and up until that moment he thought he had rather cleverly lied to himself, and somehow these false lies, as Bill came to title them, had made his life extremely more exciting than it actually was entitled to be. But Bill did let out a sincere gasp when he lifted the lid of an old steamer trunk to expose a Nazi flag laid over its contents, like the shawl of a rabbi, like the cloth that conceals the Torah from profane and trespassing eyes. Bill was afraid to remove it, as if it were a curse put on the soul that had been separated from this ominous luggage, and this made Bill mad, as he knew his curiosity would get the best of him, and was his personalized curse, his carry-on curse, that he took with him everywhere he'd go, and he surely did not need more cursed baggage than he already carried. And what lesson in life need there be after this? Curiosity is both a blessing and a curse. And Bill repeated it out loud as his fingers came to repugnantly pinch the corners of this macabre mandala that had become more than death's flag, but came to represent the surprisingly embarrassing failure of mankind's curious experiment with ever having a soul. And sneering, Bill slowly peeled the bandage back from this terrible wound, and like a matador, heaved it aside. If bad luck had a flag, this is surely it, Bill spoke to his fellow surgeons, and the ghost who huddled over his shoulders agreed. But perhaps it could now be the X that marks the spot on a hidden treasure map. In the trunk's top tray were hundreds of postcards, neatly bound in scraps of ribbon, and deftly undoing a pack, Bill revealed they were from Germany. Many of them color-tinted photos announcing Nazi Germany's launching of the greatest airship to ever cast a long shadow on the landscape below. When in 1936 the Hindenburg was born, soon to make its maiden voyage to America, to advertise the superiority of Nazi Germany's technical know-how, only to end up promoting the inferno to come, when it burst into flame after touching the land to freedom, like God touching the hand of Adam high up in the Sistine Chapel? To this day, no one knows whether God or man had erred in this finishing touch, but Bill understood that it was a case of too much torque, and the head of the bolt snapped off in the wrench. Disaster, so be it.